So what does every business need to know about cybersecurity? Even if you're a mom and pop shop or on the larger end of being a small business, every business needs to know about cybersecurity. And there's some key things that I think you should be thinking about. One is I think you should really put on the hat of a hacker. Somebody looking at your business thinking, how can I pull out the value from that business, especially from their digital assets? So think about this. You go to the coffee shop, you're the owner of the business, and you're sitting there at a table. You might open up your laptop. You already got your coffee coming in up front. So you're sitting there and then you're thinking, oh, you know what? I think I want to get a muffin. You get up, you leave your laptop. It's only a few steps away to the cash register to get something else to get this muffin. But your back is turned to the laptop for probably 2-3 minutes, and you left your laptop unlocked. You just got up and you had information right up on the screen of your laptop related to customer information because you were working on something for a customer, responding to them, etc. 2 to 3 minutes may not seem that long in a general sense, but when it comes to somebody that has nefarious intent and then being able to capitalize on that 2 or 3 minutes sitting at an opened, unlocked laptop with data on the screen, there's a lot that can get done. So just with that example, that might prompt you to think through what sorts of policies do we need to have in place from a cybersecurity perspective for our employees. One of those policies could be around the requirement to lock your screen on your laptop anytime you're getting up to leave it unattended. So that's something that would go into a cyber policy. And that's just one example. Another example when you're thinking about a small business is if you were to consider somebody walking off, same coffee shop, with your laptop. The challenge is the data encrypted on this? If they walk away, is your laptop, could it just be a brick? You know, if it were encrypted, it could be. So even if they physically had the laptop, with an encrypted laptop, they wouldn't be able to pull off the data from that system. So when you think about another policy or requirement from a technical and a policy perspective, one is having a policy to say that all of our laptops have encryption on them to protect the data. And you could have somebody work with your company to actually employ that encryption on your system. Certain operating systems have that encryption available as a part of the operating system version. One quick note, I would just say, and this is based upon some of the assessments that we've done for smaller businesses, is sometimes organizations will go with using Microsoft Home Edition, for example. Home Edition does not have some of the security measures that are required and are appropriate for certain small businesses. For instance, if you're a small business or to include a nonprofit, works with a lot of health data or other sensitive data. You don't have to be large to have a lot of sensitive data involving your clients. Maybe you're a mental health professional consultant. You have a lot of data on your system that's sensitive, and Microsoft Home as an operating system simply doesn't have the configuration settings and controls and features that are needed and necessary for a professional protection of sensitive data. So that's one example. In general, some of the other things that small businesses should be considering is just, if you were the customer of your business, how would you want that business protecting your data? From a social media perspective, what kind of data would you want to make sure that customer or you were sharing about the customers, right? So if you're the business, do you want any sort of things about your business shown on social media? As a customer, I wouldn't want that, right? So you might have to set a social media policy. That's another part of cybersecurity. What kind of data is appropriate to go where? What kinds of data can appear on our website? What kind of data can appear on social media sites? There needs to be a policy around the protection of data. Extend that even to AI. What's your AI policy for your company? Are your employees allowed to take company data and put it into ChatGPT, for instance? Maybe they could put some data, but there might be specific configuration settings that you would want your employees to have on ChatGPT. For instance, temporary chat has to be turned on. That way, ChatGPT is not learning from your company's data. So my recommendation is, again, to really put on the hat of an adversary and a hacker. Put yourself in that seat and think about what are the different ways that you would attack or come at your business if you had the opportunity or ill intent. The other thing is to put yourself in the shoes of your customers. What sort of expectation would you have of you if you were a customer of your business for protecting your information and your data? And lastly, I'll just leave you some really nice frameworks, I think, that make it easy for businesses to start thinking through and thinking about cybersecurity. And these are frameworks and standards that are helpful and useful for smaller organizations. One of them is Center for Internet Security, CIS. They have different benchmarks and tools and really top controls that you should be paying attention to for your business. So CIS is very small business friendly. Also, the Cybersecurity Framework. That is a publication or a framework by NIST. So if you look up Cybersecurity Framework, that is also a framework that is intended for small businesses and large businesses alike, but in particular for commercial companies, non-governmental. So those are two frameworks or standards that you can kind of read through, and that can just help to cultivate your thinking around, if you were a hacker putting yourself in those shoes, the sorts of things that you might do to compromise your business if you had ill intent. I would love to chat more about this matter if you have any questions or any feedback. TCecure is on multiple social media platforms. LinkedIn is a primary one. That's also where you can message me, Tina Williams-Koroma on LinkedIn. And you can also find TCecure on Facebook and on Instagram. So would love to hear from you. Thanks so much. And remember, cybersecurity is important for every single business.